Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I am your host B-Lak, and today we are beginning a journey in another MyNBA series. We have done in the past, or I've done in the past, a few series. I've done 2 Spurs series and a very brief Charlotte Hornets series, and then a Grizzlies series that I didn't finish either. But today, this one's a little bit different than anything else I've ever done before. We are beginning with an expansion team, something that I haven't done yet on this channel, and why not do it with a legendary team like the Seattle Supersonics? Technically, to make the team a new team and not a part of the Oklahoma City Thunder, we are making them the Seattle Sonics, but we're just going to be calling them the Supersonics for the duration of this series. But as far as records go, statistics, championships, obviously they don't even have that. All of the historical stuff is going to stick with the Thunder, and we are strictly going to be known as the Seattle Sonics. Now, I didn't want to make it an uneven league, so I added another expansion team, and I figured why not bring back another team that used to have, or another city that used to have a team in Vancouver. Obviously, they can't be the Vancouver Grizzlies because the Memphis Grizzlies exist still, but they are going to be the Vancouver Blizzard, as you will see in a few seconds. I really enjoyed or liked the way their colors were. Their jerseys and their courts look like from the 2K share database, so I very much enjoyed how that, the color scheme looked for them. So that's why the Blizzard are going to be the other expansion team. And before we can ever get into this series, before we can play any games, before we can make any trades, any signings, we have to do our draft for our roster. However, we do need to look around the league and see who's protected and who's not. So in the past, there's been some issues with the protection system. 2 main players I realized were always going to be unprotected. Jalen Duren from the Pistons, a young, scrappy center at just 19 years old, and Bradley Beal from the Suns. Now, I don't really think those are players that would make sense leaving them unprotected for the team, so I have, at the moment, taken control of every team, and I've done what I think would be the most realistic protections. For example, the 76ers originally wanted to protect Filip Petrusev instead and let Tobias Harris leave. However, that just doesn't really make sense for them as a contender, so I protected Tobias Harris for them, and they're going to lose Filip Petrusev, or probably not. He's probably not going to get drafted. So just a quick look around the league. Really the main guy that I was interested in the most as far as high overalls go is going to be either Bruce Brown from the Pacers or Buddy Hield. They have a lot of young guys that I do think they would rather protect over a guy like Bruce Brown and Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield, they've openly been trying to get rid of, so that makes the most sense. As you can see, the Pistons, Jalen Duren, they are going to be giving up all of these guys on their roster, though. So they've just got a lot of young pieces. And then as far as the Suns go, Bradley Beal is going to be protected at an 83 overall. And let's go ahead and get into the draft. The Blizzard are up first. They're going to select Spencer Dinwiddie with the #1 overall pick, and we have an interesting decision to make. We could go best player available, but we could also go ahead and look at the youth movement. Do we want to go after a guy like Isaiah Joe? I think first off and foremost, we've got to get a fun player, a guy that can at least get some butts in the seat, a guy that can score on offense, and why not Buddy Hield? He's got great shooting ability. His defense isn't as bad as it always seems to be, so we're going to go ahead and take Buddy Hield. Next up, we do have another selection back-to-back because we didn't get the first overall pick. I'm going to go with Isaiah Joe, 24 years old. He can shoot the 3-ball fairly well, 84 3-ball. He can drive to some degree. He's a veteran presence to some extent for a team that's probably going to have a lot of young pieces. Somebody that's been in the league for 3 years is honestly going to be a veteran presence. Obviously, with him and Buddy Hield, our defensive backcourt, or our wings on the defensive side of the ball are not going to be all that great, but Isaiah Joe makes a lot of sense for us to go with him. The Blizzard are going to take Gordon Hayward and KCP, so they're going after a lot of veteran presence. They're going after basically best player available every time. Looking at the center position, I want to lock down our big man position fairly early on, and I like what I see from Isaiah Hartenstein. 25 years old, he's a 77 overall, can't really shoot the ball, can't stretch the floor, and he's not the greatest in the paint, but he's okay offensively as far as that goes, and he can definitely get you some blocks. He's just going to rebound very well, and he still has a lot of room to grow. That's going to be our center right there for the future. Point guard, I am tempted to go with Killian Hayes. He's so young, 22 years old, a former top 7 draft pick, and the Pistons, as I said, had to let him go in order to keep Jalen Duren. He can, I feel like, run the offense fairly well. He can play some defense, so I'm going to select Killian Hayes to potentially be our starting point guard for this dynasty. Now let's go ahead and see who all we've drafted if I can. I don't think I can see without looking here. We basically have a starting lineup outside of the shooting or the power forward position. We've got at the 1 right now would be Killian Hayes. Then we would have Isaiah Joe, Buddy Hield, and Isaiah Hartenstein. So we're going to settle for a power forward here in this 5th round. And there's not a lot of great options. You've got not very many young guys, but Nasir Little is a good option for us. He's a 75 overall, 3-and-D type player. And I think that could be very, very vital, but I do think we can get him maybe a little bit later in the draft, or maybe even with our next selection. So I'm going to look around a little bit and see exactly who else is left on the board. Like a guy like Brandon Boston Jr. at 21 years old, he can shoot the 3, he can drive, and at a fairly decent rate. As far as defense goes, he's not that great. We really don't have a lot of defensive guys on the roster right now. Wes Matthews is very old, so it'd be kind of pointless to even draft him. Max Christie is here, and he's a elite 3-point shooter. Unfortunately for us, he cannot play defense at all. I think we're going to go ahead and settle for... We'll go right now. We have another pick after this. Right now, we're going to go ahead and settle, making the power forward position Nasir Little at 6'9". He's undersized, but I do think he can make a lot of movement or a lot of noise. Definitely a good selection there. Then we're going to go over here. We're going to still probably end up taking the guys that I was looking at before. Cam Reddish is here, 77 3-ball. Driving skills are there. Maybe not necessarily the greatest, and his defense is solid. I think at 24 years old, Cam Reddish is a good bet, as we'll now see the Blizzards select Gary Payton II and Mike Conley, so they're definitely going with the veteran presence. Now we just need to work on filling out our bench. I do think getting a vet like a Dennis Schroeder or like a DeLon Wright, I think is a good idea. He can shoot the 3 fairly well. He can run the offense, and also he's a very good defender. So I think DeLon Wright's going to be a good selection there as a veteran presence. Next up, we're going to go ahead and address probably the backup center position. As you can see, we have 2 point guards. We have multiple wings. We've got plenty of wings right now. So I think we're going to address the backup center position. And looking around, Isaiah Hartenstein isn't necessarily a young guy, so I don't think we need to, like, desperately go for a veteran center. I do think a guy like Moses Brown could be interesting. He doesn't have any offensive game, really, but he's a good defender in the post. He's got an 81 block. He's got good rebounding. Moses Brown is going to be the selection there. The Blizzard finally go young with Goga Badatsi and Kobe Buffkin. Now we have a few more picks. We shouldn't have very many more. We are in round 9, and we have till 14, so we have a good amount of more picks. We already picked up our backup point guard. I think I still would like to go with Brandon Boston Jr. just to see what he can do for this roster, as we do need to get a backup small forward, I believe. We did pick up Cam Reddish, so we have a backup small forward. I think we have a backup for every position now. So we just need to go with best option or best player available. Duncan Robinson is there, but, I mean, not a good defender at all. Do we really want to bring in a guy that we already have our defensive issues? Do we really want to bring in a guy that can't play defense? Ricky Rubio could be interesting, but we don't really need him. Maxi Kleba. He is interesting because he's a pretty solid defender. We're going to go with him. You know, I know he's got a bit of a contract, and we're going to be locked up with him, but I do think it's a good option to have off the bench now. We're getting basically near the end of this thing. We can just go, honestly, and select some best player or young players that I think could have some potential. Malachi Flynn, maybe, could have some potential still left in the tank. He's 25 years old, though. I think I'm going to go with J.D. Davidson. He's 21 years old, 6'1" point guard, can't really shoot, but he is a very good slasher as far as that goes. And defense is not very good, but he's young. Maybe he's got a chance to blossom into something else. Shooting guard position, we don't really have much to choose from. Justin Champagne. Andre Jackson Jr. is not a good offensive player, but maybe he makes up for that with defense. I know he's one of the better defenders in the draft, but he's still just a rookie, so you don't really know what to expect out of him. We could pick up Ron Harper Jr. That would be interesting. Chris Livingston's there. I believe he came from Kentucky, yeah. And Kessler Edwards is still here, though. He's got an okay 3-ball. He's got okay defense. Maybe I'm going to lean towards Kessler Edwards. He's not necessarily young, but he's 23 years old, so he does have time to develop. Kessler Edwards, I hate to break it to them, that is not Kessler Edwards. We're going to go, and yeah, we've only got a few more picks. As you can see, the board is dwindling down. We're going to go pick up Andre Jackson Jr. just to be a young guy there. And finally, did we get another center? This should be our last selection. I think we only have the backup center, Moses Brown, right? I believe. So we're going to pick up a center here. And why not a veteran like Montrezl Harrell? Why not? He's only going to be on the roster for this first year. And that is going to finalize the Seattle Supersonics first-year roster. We're going to be running with an auto-generated draft class, but I will be editing it. I will be showing you guys the players throughout the draft class as far as that goes. And here's what you're looking at. As far as the starting lineup for this team goes, we don't really want to, go ultra young. We've got DeLon Wright. We've got Isaiah Joe at the shooting guard position. Buddy Hield at the small forward. Maxi Kleba and Isaiah Hartenstein. Then off the bench, we're going to have Javonte Green. They sign him every time for some reason. I'm not exactly sure, so we're actually going to go ahead and release him into free agency. We'll probably sign somebody else as we look around. No, I do not want to remove any teams. But let me get back to the starting lineup if I can. I keep clicking on the wrong thing. And, yeah, here we go. So we've got DeLon Wright, Isaiah Joe, Buddy Hield, Maxi Kleba, Isaiah Hartenstein. Then off the bench, we're going to have Killian Hayes. Can we try and revitalize his career? He's been disappointing so far for Pistons fans. Terrible shooting splits. Hopefully he can contribute. Cam Reddish, Nasir Little, Montrezl Harrell, Moses Brown. Then we're going to have as our reserves Brandon Boston Jr., Kessler Edwards, Andre Jackson. And we can still pick up 2 guys out of free agency, so I'm trying to look around and see what positions could use another guy. We can maybe pick up another small or power forward if we can find a young guy there in free agency. Just not a guy like Javonte Green. I don't want them to sign somebody automatically for me. But if we can get a guy that's got a lot of badges, like a TJ Warren, I think he could be a good guy off the bench. We're going to bring TJ Warren in for a minimum contract. And then what's the young prospects looking like? There's some good ones. You've got an 18-year-old, but he's 61 overall. He's not even a real guy. There's definitely some young guys. I think I saw Kennedy Chandler down here, and I do think he has some potential still, but we're going to look around and let's see. Definitely some young options. Pavlo Gornev, he's 21 years old, and Josh Christopher's here. I like Josh Christopher. He wants $12 million, though. We're definitely not in the market to offer him $12 million, as you can see. And yeah, Kennedy Chandler's here. Chandler is a point guard who only averaged 2 points per game with the Grizzlies last year, but he can, he can shoot it at a very low clip, and also he can pass fairly well, and his defense isn't bad. So we're going to bring in Kennedy Chandler on that 1-year deal, and that's going to round out our roster as far as permanent spots go. By next episode, we'll probably have a couple two-way players. Off the reserves are Andre Jackson Jr. and Kennedy Chandler. They'll get some playing time, though. Kessler Edwards still can't get over how weird that man looks. Brandon Boston Jr. is there as well. Moses Brown. And that's going to be our roster for the year. If you're wondering what our jerseys look like as far as our team goes right now, this is definitely up to, this is definitely up to change if I decide that I don't like the way they look, or if I want to, you know, kind of get a fresh look in. I'm looking into unique colors that would be similar to that found in the Seattle area. So maybe we do a Seahawks themed uniform. That would be interesting. As you can see, though, we've got the yellow as our alternate, we've got the green as our away, and we've got just the basic white as our home jerseys. I do like the way they look. They're very sleek. So I think that's going to be a pretty good jersey concept for us. As far as around the league goes, before we sign off here in episode 1, I know it wasn't a lot going on so far. We're going to take a look at the power rankings and see exactly where everybody stands. Starting off, they've got the Lakers at number 1. As you can see, they've made some moves in the offseason. D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves. Starting lineup's pretty much the same, but off the bench, you've got Christian Wood, Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, Taurean Prince, Jackson Hayes, Jalen Hood-Sphino, a first-round draft pick who looks like he could be pretty doggone good for the Lakers. Max Christie, man, I forgot about him on the board. Maxwell Lewis, Scottie Pippen Jr. there to round them out. Then the Bucks with their brand new roster led by Damian Lillard, Dame Dollar there, recently traded to Milwaukee. Pat Connaughton, Chris Middleton, Giannis, and Brook Lopez, so everything else the same there. But the Celtics, Drew Holiday traded to Boston after being traded to Portland from Milwaukee. He's going to lead the team there at the point guard spot with Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, and the newest starting center, Kristaps Porzingis. Golden State rounding out the top 4 with Steph Curry, obviously, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, and Kevon Looney. Chris Paul off the bench. Going to be interesting to see how they run this team. And finally, this is just the rest of it. I imagine we're going to be pretty low. We are, actually, where are we at? We are 23, so they're not ranking us all that low. They're putting us, you know, in the middle of the pack towards the end, but definitely not as low as I thought we would be. In contrast, Vancouver, the Blizzard are very low. They have a very old roster, though. They did get a couple young guys there at the end of the bench there, but they've just got a scrappy team of veterans that most likely won't be there. The worst team in the NBA prediction is the Charlotte Hornets. Unfortunately, Charlotte just can never, ever find a way to be good. But that is where I'm going to end this first episode off. I hope you guys did enjoy this introduction episode as we got to draft our roster and we got to take a look at who is going to be the newest members of the Seattle Supersonics. I hope you all of you guys, I can never speak English. I hope all of y'all are excited for this series. As always, hit the like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications so you never miss an upload. And I'll catch each and every one of y'all next time. Have a great day.